talk about my family and kind of my mom's background and my dad's background as well, and then just kind of my whole family life and how everything works. So to start off with my mom's side, so my grandma, her mom, they're all from Mexico. It's a very large family, and they all live in Mexico City. So we go to visit quite often. I'd say about 1 or 2 times a year, and I think I have like 25 cousins, like 10 aunts and uncles, and it's just a huge family. And we always celebrate New Year's together, which is something that's like super special for our family. We always look forward to it. And at the dinner table, there's like 40 chairs at it, and we can barely fit everybody in. But I feel like that's kind of rubbed off on my mom and the way that she's raised me. She's very like family oriented and very fun, outgoing person. She's not the best Mexican food person, but yeah, it's just a really important part of my heritage. And so my grandma was working in Mexico City at one of the offices for the Border Patrol. And my grandpa, at a young age, he grew up in Pennsylvania and was stationed out there, and he was like the manager of his district. So he had like a pretty high position, and he was working in the office, and like they would always like see each other and kind of like flirt here and there. And my grandma had this candy jar that she would place on her desk, and my grandpa and all of his buddies would always go over and steal all the candy. And so one night she decided to play a prank on him, and she filled the whole jar with plastic candy, so it wasn't even real. And he goes over to eat it one night, and he takes a bite, and he's like, ow, because it was just like rock hard plastic. And she was dying laughing. And then I guess that's kind of when the relationship started, and they started dating. And they eventually moved to Northern California, and that's where they had my mom and my mom's brother, and they just raised them there. And then so my dad, the side of his family, his mom is from Iowa, so he spent all of his summers growing up with a farm, driving a tractor, and taking care of the land and all the animals. So he's definitely like a country guy. That's where I get my love for country music. And his dad was in LA, so he grew up in LA and then spent his summers in Iowa. And he worked at this big law firm as a young guy. And one time, he was, I think, like 19 years old, so he had a pretty good job for being so young. Ronald Reagan came and like landed in his helicopter on top of the roof. And so my dad was working in LA, and my mom was going to the Fashion Institute of Design and Merchandising. And they had like some sort of work project together, and that's when they met. And my dad had a girlfriend at the time, but they just became really good friends. And then when my dad and his girlfriend broke up, my mom was like, this is my time, like I'm gonna shoot my shot. And they ended up falling in love, and they moved down to Anaheim, or Anaheim Hills area, and that's when they decided to have a baby. So my mom gave birth to my brother in 1996, and then a couple years later they wanted to have another child. So my mom got pregnant, but then she was driving one day, and she got rear-ended pretty badly and ended up having a miscarriage. So it's just kind of crazy to think that if that didn't happen, like I don't know if I'd even be here today or be with my family that I have. And so then she ended up trying again a couple years later, and she gave birth to the cutest baby. And yeah, so today my family and I were really close, and it's a really important part of my life. And my brother and I used to fight all the time, but now he's like one of my best friends and my role model. And that's my family story. Thank you.